Eden Koz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. Eden, Just Be Spiritual Boom in association with the Grassroots Warriors Network. Welcome, Chase Tuten out of Florida. How you doing?
We are fabulous today, Eden. How are you doing?
That's great. With your many personas, which probably we're going to discuss, Mr. Richard, that's kind of your bio, multiple personas. Today, we are going, I always say potentially because there's never knowing where things may lead, yet potentially, we're going to talk about pro football because your dad was a player and the reality of that through this great awakening. You also played in college. Your ET experiences, awakening experiences, and writing and publishing truth from your perspective. So let me give a couple little things. For those who have holidays in the States, my Hooga link will be down below. So 12% off, and they have red light therapy products, grounding products. I love them. I have many of the products at my home, so I know they're awesome. And then I will bring this up for a while because it's still near and dear to my heart. So episode 188, talking about gold IRA scams. I had Miles Franklin on the show. I feel this is incredibly important because I think more and more of this is opening up. I was involved in one, so two of the companies that I had gone with were not that great. So Kevin from Miles Franklin spent 2 months with me, helping me free myself of them. And I ended up going with Miles Franklin, but I didn't have to. That's not why they do this, to get more business for themselves, which I love the integrity behind that. And I also know that silver has gone up incredibly. So if you're looking to invest, I would highly recommend them. So contact info at Miles Franklin, put Eden in the subject line, and they'll know that you are coming from me, whether it's because you think you might be in a scam. And in episode 188, we also talk about the warning signs, what to look for. One of the big things, and what was something that happened to me, I guess is the best way to say it, was a lot of these companies have very big spokespeople, especially spokespeople in the world who know about what's going on. So that can really draw you in. So don't be drawn in. Now, Chase, let me read your bio. Chase, a.k.a. Mr. Richard from Ocala, Florida. Ocala, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, me being from down south, I should know that. Is the author of Winston Feathersby, I'll let you know how it goes, and Dream Journal. He is a middle school teacher and a student of all things. He is experienced with CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and understands that this life is more than meets the eye. Heck yeah. He is the host of the podcast, which I think is relatively new, I'm So Beastly. Is that correct?
It's got a few episodes, but they're so spaced out. It's probably like 2 years old, but I haven't been super consistent with it. So
Well,
I'm trying
man.
that's my goal for 2026 is to be much
Okay.
more consistent with it.
All right. So that's one of the reasons we're talking about it today, which focuses on positive self-growth and your central belief, perception is reality. So since this show is visual and audio, can you tell folks who can't see you what your age is and what you look like?
All right, I'll round up. Today's the 22nd, so I'm less than a month away from being 32.
Okay.
And I am a 6'1", 220-pound, broad-shouldered brunette man with long hair, a thick beard, and brown eyes. We'll
Big.
call them maybe, golden brown because they're kind of like honey.
Oh my God. So you are a big dude, a big fella.
I would say I'm bigger than average.
Yes.
Obviously, there's tons bigger than me, but I'm bigger than average. Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. And I love talking about the world and what we're coming into, because it does take, to me, okay, how do I, okay, so it takes a very strong male, oh, I'm at a loss for words right now. I want to say drive, but it's not really a drive to come through this and see things, and to buck against the system, to see the world differently. Then also a side that I feel is very feminine and very trusting and very, open to change and Mother Earth and all that. So I love it when men are on the show who are working on, like you said, bridging, and we'll get into 3D and 5D as well, but bridging that. Okay, so yeah, I'm this big guy, but I'm also a sensitive guy. And I teach middle school, and I'm looking at these things that, this is all about moving towards the heart. Okay, what would you say to that?
Well, the universe is not masculine or feminine, it's
Exactly.
both. And so if you're stuck in one, if you're too masculine and you have no femininity and feminine energy, then you're going to essentially fail in the long run. And the same goes if you're too feminine with no masculine energy, you're going to fail in the long run because there's no balance. You need the balance. And so it's interesting in today's society where if men are sensitive, they're looked down upon, but those are actually the men who are stronger typically
Yep.
because it's hard to get in touch with your emotions, with that side, especially with the way society looks at you when you do. And so those are the ones who are built to, for longevity if they can withstand how society looks at them for being in touch with their emotions. And in my eyes, I am a very sensitive person, not necessarily emotionally sensitive, but and I know everyone says they are, but I'm empathetic in a way. I
Mm-hmm.
can sense these things. I just know how people are feeling, even if they say they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sensitive in that way, but I'm also like, I'm big and burly. I'm a strong guy. I'm super masculine and whatnot. So like I try to have the balance because that's what the universe calls for. And so you know, that's my take on that without going further, I guess, without rambling too much.
Well, I think that's great because I am really also, like when I first met you, because we've had contact a couple of times. I could feel that from you, and part of my job, I guess, is to also let men know how wonderful that is. And I have had many men also say, if I show that, I'm seen as weak. One said initially, suffer in silence. Men are meant to suffer in silence. And that to me was just, oh my God, that's horrible. Please talk about things and open up. And I know it's because you've been taught not to. So, yay, yay for you.
It is interesting, it's a a lot of people, and I'm not going to play the victim because I'm definitely not, and I don't think we are at all, but it is a lot more difficult to be I guess, a male than a lot of people realize
Yep.
because things that, you're not supposed to show or talk about, or especially growing up like me, I don't care what people think about me. I just haven't for my whole life, and that's where a lot of my freedom comes from is not caring and being able to do what I want because it's authentic to me. But, a lot of men struggle greatly with not being able to be their true selves because they do care what other people think, whether, through their fault or, from outside perspectives, they just can't break through that. And it 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 really, I guess, I don't can't think of the words to say. I guess it really just weighs down on them a lot, and it's a struggle for many.
And how, since you're a white male as well, again, we're in this world right now where division is purposely being perpetrated. Do you have any concern? Okay, I'm just going to ask it this way. Do you have any concern about your color, or do you think about that at all?
No, but and I mean, obviously, like racism to that it exists, of course, but I think it's perpetuated through the media, not
Yep.
necessarily through the individuals. And so a lot of people just can't think for themselves. And, good or bad doesn't either way. A lot of people just don't form their own opinion. So if the media says one thing, then they're going to believe it. And if the media says another, they're going to believe it. And so a lot of racism is perpetuated. Granted, it's still there. Like some people just are and aren't going to change no matter what's said. So I'm not playing that down. It definitely still exists. However, I think it's not as prominent in the minds of each individual as the media makes it seem. And I mean, granted, there's 8 billion people on this earth, and you see these terrible acts of racism and violence, but they don't show you the, you know, 7.92 billion other people that are acting morally sound and, you know, not being racist or not being violent. They just show you the negative, so you think everything is negative, and thus your perception of the reality is that it's a terrible place.
Yes. And a lot of those acts, in my belief, are not really real as well, that people are paid to do it. Yeah, it's just to keep yourself clear and to move with love and to believe. And I truly believe that people do care and they move with love, and there's going to be more and more of that. So thank you for sharing. And it seems like, I, I do want to bring this up. I saw this video a while back, and it was so great that this guy basically came on and basically stated we're all just shades of brown. Every color on this
Hmm.
earth is just a shade of brown. So to get rid of this black, white, all of that, because we're really all the same. We're just different shades of the same color. I loved it.
We're all just earthlings. I
Yeah,
so I
that's true.
actually, interestingly enough, so I went to multiple colleges. My first college was an HBCU,
Okay,
and I
say
played
what
football there.
HBCU is.
Historically black college and university.
Okay.
So my first one was there. I went to Southern, go Jaguars, in Baton Rouge, and I played football there. And my one of my professors in my first class over the summer, and because I had never been taught this before, he said that everybody originated in what is now Africa, right? So we did all branch out from there, obviously, when it was, Pangea or whatever. And so we did branch out from there. And so it does come based on, your how the sun hits you, how much melanin is in your body. It has literally nothing else. It's all obviously then genetics from there, but the concept of we're not born with racism. We're taught racism. You see children, they don't come in and just hate people. They come in and they're like, let's play with them. And then their parents, through, probably being taught this from their parents and from their parents, and they teach their kids, hey, don't play with that kid because they look different, or don't play with them because they're poor and we're rich and we don't talk to them. But the values of people is just insane. Like if we just the universal language is love. If we just spread more
Mm-hmm.
love, you show love, you get love back, and then everybody's happier. It's like we cause these problems that we complain about for no reason, and it's that's
Let's just let it all go. Let's just love one another. See how easy that is. All right, I want to go to my first question. I appreciate you going off on this tangent for a second. Is how did you start to see the truth of the world, the 3D, the 5D, the Matrix, the Great Awakening? When did that start?
well, it's interesting. So my entire life, nothing really made sense, right? You're told all these things. I grew up in a Catholic household, which not I wouldn't say my dad was not Catholic or very religious at all. My mom wasn't necessarily, um, but my family as a whole, that was the general belief.
Okay, so did you grow up in Florida?
I grew up in Florida in
Florida.
Ocala,
Okay.
and but nothing that was being told to me ever made sense to the point where I'm like, yes, I'm going to jump on that. I was not going to just fall in line because I was told to do so. It doesn't make sense. I'm an analytical mind. I need to see facts. I need to see proof for something to make sense to me. I need to experience it myself.
Okay, so you were a troublemaker.
Not, I mean, you could say I was perceived as such in a sense, but I wasn't a troublemaker. I just was always searching for knowledge or truth and looking through those avenues.
Okay.
So I actually grew up agnostic and this was before I really did enough research to understand that there was this overall energy out there, the source, because and for lack of a better term, the only God I was ever told about was the one in the Bible. And that didn't make sense to me because of basically the events in the Bible. Like
Hmm.
we won't talk about that necessarily because that's a whole can of worms in itself. Um, the way it's portrayed, not necessarily the Bible itself, but the way it's portrayed to the
Hmm.
to the masses. Um, and so I was agnostic my whole life, but I had experiences with ETs. So like I had, and this is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so the best way I can describe this is consciousness abductions. So there were three times vivid moments where while sleeping, dreaming, these are the most vivid, you could call them dreams. I guess you could potentially lucid dreams. So three times I was in this corridor of a spaceship being walked, and there were balls of light next to me and behind me. And walking down this corridor, this door opens up. It's just complete light. I go through, and then boom, it's over. I wake up. This happened three times. The exact same ship, the exact same thing, the exact same like scenario. So in my mind, I mean, it felt like it was the most real thing I've ever experienced in my life, other than the waking everyday reality that, we perceive. And so this happened three times. So I was like, okay, so that really set me off, regardless of whether that actually was, you know, real or not. That kind of got me thinking like, all right, there's something else. And so then,
Can I ask you
uh,
a question?
yes,
So they didn't seem like abductions per se. Did they, or did they? But yet they were very. It sounds like they were very positive.
it was positive. I have never had any negative experience with ETs in my life at all, and
Hmm.
through my experiences, 99% of them are positive, and the only negative ones are not the ones that we typically interact with. So the positive ones are basically the majority of what's out there. The negative ones are typically the ones that are dealing with the governments, that are basically the ones that the governments are trying to put on us, the ones that are trapping us here. But the ones that are out there that
That want to
present
help.
themselves to us, they want us to go to the Galactic Council. They want to bring Earth up. They want us to be there, but they're not allowed to fully help us yet.
Hmm.
But they can on an individual level, just
Hmm.
not a global scale. So this, I would say, the abduction. It was conscious. I mean, it wasn't like a physical abduction. It was a conscious abduction of the soul, which
Okay.
is, pretty much all we are. And so that was my experience. So kind of set me off to say, hey, there's more out there. And then
Okay. So let me
still
ask you.
nothing made
So
sense.
why? Not to interrupt you again, but I
No,
am
you're
for a
fine.
second. Okay. Why do you term it an abduction?
Just for better clarification,
Okay.
abduction has a negative connotation
It
to it, but
yeah,
it
it
doesn't.
does.
I would say, okay, how about um, a consensual meeting on a ship? How about that?
Beautiful. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, so abduction has a negative connotation. That was the only way I could actually, I guess, word it properly to make it connect dots in my own
Okay.
head. But yes,
Okay.
it was consensual by all means.
All
Don't,
right.
yes. Um, and then a few years later, this happened up until I was, I don't know, 17, 18, so through high school. And then when I was about 23, give or take, I was in Pensacola, which is where I currently live now. And we were in an Uber. Funny story about that Uber. Um, we got picked up downtown, and the Uber actually, and this has all been resolved, but the Uber actually hit a walk of someone walking across the street,
Oh,
hit them, knocked them
jeez.
over, didn't realize it. the person, I mean, this was at like 1 a.m., so they were clearly drunk. They fell down, they popped back up, didn't even look back and kept on walking. So they had no idea they were even hit.
Oh my gosh.
And
All
I was
right.
in the front seat. It was crazy. But
Jeez.
that's just a, a interesting experience on this same Uber ride that this happened.
Okay.
Um, and so later we're on this place called Scenic Highway in Pensacola, and we're talking. I look up and I see the most concentrated light that I've ever seen in my life. And it looks like it's kind of similar to a street light, but it was way higher than a street light in like the shape that it was in. And it was super concentrated. So I'm looking at it, it's just staying there. And then all of a sudden it shoots off fast and then twinkles out. So it's like ship. The only way I can describe it is a ship. So I'm like, okay, I know they're out there. And so this kind of set it off to where I'm like, I know we're not alone. And then mathematically speaking, of course, if they want to say the universe is ever expanding and talk about the vast size of the universe, saying there's more stars than grains of sand on Earth, and it's mathematically impossible for us to be the only, intelligent life form, intelligent civilization, right? It just doesn't make sense, right? Like thinking about it in terms of numbers, it doesn't make sense.
So, did you have anyone to talk to about these things? Were you the only one in the Uber that saw this light? How did you deal with that?
Actually, one of my best friends saw it as well, and we talk about it to this day. And he
Wow.
actually like did get abducted by ETs when he was like 3 years old, living in Japan. And
Oh, I just
I
got
mean,
chills.
he drew them. He has like
Mm-hmm.
vivid memories of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've talked about this. He's got, um, so I can talk to him about this at the time. And I also had my other friend, Nick, who this story is actually leading up to, who I can talk to about. But that was the moment when I saw that ship that I was like, okay, there's definitely more out there. And
Yeah.
so I never really dove deep, but it was more just like knowing that we're not alone. And but still questioning, still being agnostic, still not really putting it all together.
Whoa. Okay, so that didn't automatically change you into, oh, there must be so much more out there. Okay, it's taking a while. It's all brewing.
Well, yeah, well, you have to understand too that my vision of, let's say, a god was the biblical God, and
Mm-hmm.
that still never made sense to me. So I didn't understand the concept of the source at that time, the energy source.
Okay.
And so that still took more time. But this was when I was about 23. So over the next 4-ish years, I probably saw 5 more ET crafts.
Whoa. Okay.
One of them I was on my back porch, my back patio, looking up, and I saw 3 lights in a triangle formation, and then they shifted across the sky and stopped, and then they shifted again and then shot off. So that, I mean, there's no other way to describe it other than, you know, you could call it a UFO. I'll call it a ET craft because that's, I mean, it's just the way it moved, there's nothing else. Excuse me. And I saw other instances of certain things like that. And then we got to then skip ahead a little bit to October 19th of what's 2022, I believe.
Okay, you remember the exact date. Okay,
Oh,
let's hear
this
what happened.
so this is where it all culminated, where everything where everything came together and started really
Mm,
sending me on the path that I've been on, like completely. So my friend Nick previously mentioned he had he was skeptical that ETs existed. However, um, he had also questioned everything his whole life, but he grew up in, same Catholic household. We both went to Catholic high schools for a time, transferred out only for a short time, but we did for a time. And so we grew up with similar um, households in that regard.
mhm.
But he was skeptical about ETs, but was fully aware that Dr. Stephen Greer, um, Sorry, I'm getting a call. I can't talk right now.
Yeah, I know. Hold
That
on. And it's so funny. Dr. Stephen Greer has been brought up on the show, probably never mentioned before, but the past 6 months, he's been like almost every other guest brings him up.
well,
Just
he's
interesting.
the I would say the father of CE5, and
Yep.
I mention him all the time on in a lot of my episodes in my podcast. I mention him, my friend. I mean, we talk about him all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and me and Nick and I do. Uh, but I mean, he's on the way. He talks about 0 point energy and how we can power the entire world basically, for free if every house gets this zero. Like we won't like that's a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion in itself. There's a lot of other discussions in themselves, of course. Um, but Nick, he told me about Stephen Greer, Dr. Greer, and CE5. And so he's like, I've seen this. I like all the testimonials. It works. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like I knew they existed, but I was skeptical that we could contact them. And he was skeptical that they existed, but he believed we could contact them. So it was like
Whoa.
a really interesting, I guess, yin and yang sort of
Yeah.
thing right there. And so it was the two of us and our other friend Kevin at the time, and we've since separated ourselves from Kevin kind of organically, not like that's just how things work. But the three of us, so we're at this lake in the Ocala area, and we put on the tunes, like the frequencies that Dr. Greer has on his app. We're going deep into meditation, and like we were already up on meditation at this time. That wasn't new to us. So we're meditating to get into the frequency, the universal frequency, to be able to connect. And then it's talking about vectoring. So then we start sending out vectoring messages, which, if you're not aware of this, it's basically you're sending out from your position. Start with the most broad. So we would start with like the Milky Way. We'd send out an image of the Milky Way for a bit, and then we'd pinpoint it down to the solar system. And then from there, after a bit, you'd pinpoint it down to Earth, and then to US, and then to Florida, and then to more specifically your location. And so by doing this, once you're on the frequency, it sends out like like a radio wave, like a phone call. You're calling your friend, like, "Hey, yo, what's up? You want to come see us?" And so it does that for a while. And I mean, we did this for like 3 hours, like in deep, heavy, using everything we had.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 3 hours, the two of them went inside. I stayed out for another five, and I saw something, but I wasn't sure because I'd never like done this before. I never really understood what it was. Um, but it was like a brownish hexagon kind of going through the sky, and I was like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. And so I told them about it, and they're like, all right, yeah. So we go back outside after like 10, 15 minutes of, hydrating and like I mean, it's an exhausting thing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
working out, the brain's a muscle. It's if you've never done this before, it is mentally demanding.
Yeah, so I haven't. So please go through. I love that you're going through all the steps that you guys went through. I love it. Okay, proceed, please.
I think you would love
Oh,
CE5.
I think,
Honestly,
yeah.
it's
All right, I'm all in.
so then we go back after like 15 minutes after we're feeling better. Um, and we get it back into one more time, try to do it again. So we get back into it, meditate a little bit, and as best as we could. We're already exhausted. It was difficult at this point. And then so we look up and we see this like I would say maybe maybe 100 yards above us,
Okay.
and like 1 yard, one house over, two houses over, and Um, it was the same brown light, you know, hexagons that we saw, but there were like six of them. And
Jeez.
so it was like kind of like windows on a ship. And you see them, and it was a little foggy that night, but then the lights, like the lines connecting, making the hexagon were like red, green, blue, like they were kind of like those, those clear walkway lights that kind of have the tubes, the clear tubes with the colorful lights on the inside.
Mm.
And it was basically connecting the hexagon. And so it connected all six of these, kind of like the windshield was, and it was going smooth, no noise, no nothing across the lake, all the way across the lake, and then gone. And so we all look at each other like, what the heck was that? But we don't say anything because we want to make sure that we saw, that everyone saw something and no one's like, oh yeah, I saw it. So we go inside, get index cards, and say, all right, write down what you saw, and then we'll show each other, but don't say anything. So we did that, and obviously we were in different perspectives, but we all drew the exact same thing.
Whoa, so
So it
great.
was, and I mean, it was a legitimate like 30-second sighting, just straight, which is very long for a CE5 for one craft. I mean, we've had a couple that were longer and like honest, like more impressive per se, but will never be more impressive because of just how it all played out. Um, but we all saw the same thing. Is there's no other way you can describe it other than an interdimensional craft, just the way that because it wasn't like it definitely wasn't a saucer that you see. It wasn't, the
Mm-mm.
metal craft. It wasn't like purely physically there, but it was there, and I can still vividly see it, even though this was over 3 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's not too long ago. So for me, this is really interesting because I talk to galactic beings and see them in my mind's eye. Yet to physically see it, I would so love that too. Not that I don't believe that it's real or anything, but just it's just so confirming. And it's funny. I don't need confirmation, but it would just be cool. So how did y'all, when y'all all sat down on your index cards, basically seeing the same thing, did you do this more? Please continue with the story.
Oh, did we do it more? So
Yeah.
yes, of course. It was so we'll come to like how you became like truly awakened or truly understanding it all.
Yeah.
So this was the moment because I'm like, okay, we can communicate with them. We can send out this message. We can, give them our location. We can get on the frequency with them. All right. So this kind of made me believe in something else, not be agnostic anymore, but not know
Mm.
what it was that I was like
Yeah.
being witness to at this point. Um, but I did understand that, hey, there is some sort of creator, but it came through these contacts with these ETs. It didn't necessarily happen that night, but that's when I started questioning more, what else can we do? How is this possible? And that's kind of when it started to, snowball into much more. And then through the different connections, like we would sometimes get messages from them and say like, hey, because we'd ask them questions, and a lot of times it's a yes or no, like a flash from a craft or a double flash from a craft. But every now and again it would be, like a channel. They'd send us a message and we'd hear it, and it would say, because one of our friends, my friend Nick, um, he asked something along the lines of, "Are you God?" or something like that.
Mm.
Just, and they responded with, "Do not ever compare us to the Creator."
Oh, that's a
And
great
so
simple way of okay.
that was the moment where I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, okay, I'm fully aware that there is a creator. There is a source out there, but still not understanding what it was, but knowing that there was more, that I did now believe in that higher power and understand that there was that higher power, but it took an entirely different intelligent life force to get me to that point. And yes, of course, we did do this more, but we had to wait. At that point, we had to wait at least 1 week between each session, sometimes two, because we were too exhausted mentally to try to do it anytime. But now it's to the point where we can basically take a couple deep breaths when we go outside and um, see stuff. So it's a lot easier now. I mean, back then it was
Yeah.
like we'd never worked out a day in our lives, and now
Mm-hmm.
we're bench pressing 315 like nothing, like that type of thing. I know that's a
Mm-hmm.
weird comparison, I guess, but that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of the best way I can describe it. Not to, try to not to sound egotistical about it or anything, but
Mm-mm.
it is a progress. You know, you obviously get better. If anyone does it for 3 years, they're gonna be much better at something,
Yeah.
especially if they basically revolve their entire life around it now.
Well, it's like you've been training for it. And you continually open yourself up to it. All right, let me ask you this, Chase. Given that the media and entertainment has always been that aliens, ETs, they're scary. Almost every movie, except I think of ET and Close Encounters, and maybe there are somewhere out there that Wally, that you have to kill them, that it's scary, that it's fearful. Did you guys start with any of that, or just like, oh, we need to be careful, or just, oh man, we're just gonna go all in, we're ready?
Well, no, because we had already understood that what you see is not genuinely, like generally the truth,
Okay.
and it's we already knew that there was a brainwashing aspect to it all. Um, so we just went in and decided to try it because we thought it'd be cool. Like, how cool is that to be able to contact ETs? Like, that's freaking dope. So, so no, but we never had any negative experience whatsoever. Um, I mean, the things we've seen more in the past 3 years than, I mean, some people will ever even fathom in an entire lifetime, multiple lifetimes. And I mean, there's people who've seen more than us, but I mean, we've seen by far our fair share. And it's cool, you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
because it's to the point now where sometimes we'll see something and it's still clearly an ET craft, and we're like, oh yeah, that's that's just a shooter or something. Like, which is basically like looks like a sparkler going across the sky, or they have a one that looks like a highlighter going across the sky, different colors. We've seen um, like different color probes, like coming through, like looking like it has a silvery metal antenna with a red light on the top, or a green light, or a blue light. We've seen all those. Um, I've made sure to, because there were some nights when we've seen like crazy things, which the only way I can even describe is like a mothership offload, because there were 20 to 30 boom, 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 boom in a line.
Wow.
And I looked up and there were not a single satellite launch or rocket launch anywhere in the world on those nights, those 3 nights that I saw those. And I saw one of them two of them by myself, and one of them with my friend Nick. Um, and the first one was interesting because I was like, okay, this got to be satellites, got to be something, because it was just like craft, craft, craft. And it, like, I counted 22 of them, and I didn't even count the first few because I was just like, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
so I looked up and I kept asking, like, every night. I was like, all right, did I really see what I see? Was that y'all, or was that, satellites? And then one night I'm looking out over my house, and there's this big open area over my roof, and I see um like black with green outlines, like 20, 25 of them in a single file line. Like, I see all of them, and I look back to where they're coming from, and I see a big flash, as if to say, do you believe it's us now?
Ah,
And I looked once again, no satellite launches, no rocket launches anywhere in the world. I made sure to do my due diligence because I know the Starlink satellites, people had seen those, but I've seen those and it wasn't anything like
mm-hmm.
the altogether. It was, so you know, it's 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 hard to fathom. Even having seen it, it's still hard to fathom what it was, but the green and black one really made it like clear to me that that's really what it had to be, because even satellite launches, they're not green and black, and rocket launches, they're not 25 of them.
Okay, you know what I would say this is? It's just heartwarming. It's just heartwarming knowing that we are coming to a time where there is so much support out there and that you are a part of it. All right, let's talk about your. I love what they said to you when y'all asked, "Do not compare us to the source." I might have that wording a little bit incorrect. Yet that for you was kind of the spiritual opening. What happened to you after that moment?
Um, well, from then, so don't compare us to the creator.
Thank you.
Because then, and I get the only reason that that distinction does make a difference is because they have told us many times, they said, don't try to understand the source because it's even something that we can't understand at
Hmm.
times. And so it's more than we can even fathom. So it's not worth our time to fully try to understand it as a scholar,
Hmm.
to that extent, like understand it enough to, like live with it, but not to the point where you're just take because it's so powerful that you just can't, I guess, fathom it. It's hard to understand. But yes, so the creator. So there is the creator that they speak of. Um, but after all this happened, it became, I mean, we went down. We actually, when this happened, we started doing our research, and I mean, I'm very open about this. So is Nick. We tell everyone who we discuss with this, and we try to bring them in with the CE5 because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And
Yeah.
then you start to go down a path, and once you go down that path, you can't unsee what you find.
Right.
And so we both went into a state of deep depression for 3 months, give or take, because of seeing kind of like what we already expected, but then seeing proof of how we're being lied to and how these
Yeah.
things are happening and what's going wrong. And then you
Oh, yeah.
question, like, well, if it's like this, what, but if it's like, if they just do this, then everybody can benefit. And if this is like, what, like, if there's, these other beings out there and with Galactic Council, why don't we just join them and we're intergalactic traveling instead of staying on this one planet and worrying about money and this and that,
Hmm.
blah. And so then you start to question the why, and then I mean, we were like legitimately depressed. We didn't do any research, anything for like 3 4 months because I mean we were very down on ourselves, and down on the world and down on
Yeah.
everything for quite some time. And then you get over that hump and it's like, all right, well, now basically nothing matters in this 3D world except for the 5D that we can experience. So then we started going deeper. And then everything would just be researching that and, reading new books. And then Nick went to Houston and like in the mall, some random guy walked up to him and gave him the Bhagavad Gita. And he just said, "Here you go." And all right,
Whoa.
so then he starts reading that. And then he ends up getting me a copy and he joins this group. And so we read that. And then we're Hare Krishna all the time, but not like not Hindu, because it's not Hindu. It's totally different. Um, it's not an actual like religion. It's kind of just like a way of think. The Hare Krishna is totally different. But anyway, the Bhagavad Gita, the conversation is it's when you read it, it's a magical book because it's very positive, right? And and here's the distinction that I have not read the New Testament. I have read about 270 pages from the beginning of the Old Testament. It's a very dark book.
I would
It's very
concur.
depressing,
Yep.
and a lot of it's contradictory, and we could tear it apart. I mean, it's all coded, right? If you read it literally, but it also makes you question why. Once again, we won't get into the Old Testament. That could be many episodes in and of itself. But the Bhagavad Gita, so we were reading this, and it's a very uplifting book. Just the words itself, like you just feel good when you're reading it.
Hmm.
And um, and so then like we would, after we finished it, we'd randomly flip to a page, and it would be the exact type of quote that we needed that day,
Hmm.
or that week, or that moment. And and it would just constantly happen over and over again. And so then so we would just listen to the um, Hare Krishna song over and over again all the time, and it would just be uplifting. And then when we'd meditate, we would um, just like recite the mantra, and it would get you into that zone quicker, kind of like doing the Fibonacci vortex gets you into the zone quicker, if you know what that is, the
I do not.
vortex. So the
But I think that's with Greer and the CE5. Like that's the vortex you want to be in to achieve
um
connection.
yeah, well, the Fibonacci vortex is like, so you start with 13 breaths, or like a 13-second breath in, 13 seconds out, 8 in, 8 out, 5 in, 5 out, 3, 2, 1, 1. Because those are just the numbers on the sequence, and it really calms you and gets you into that zone. It gets you into the level way quicker. It's actually crazy.
Nice.
Um, but then, yeah, so the Hare Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita came into our lives, and we started doing that for a while. And then that kind of set us off onto other paths, like questioning, trying to connect it. And then you find out, obviously, the story of Krishna is directly connected to Jesus, the born of a virgin mother, like born on this day, this many like disciples, but they're also connected to the sun god Horus, and then which the 12 disciples are connected to astrological signs, and you know, Jesus is the signs revolve around the sun, of course, like it's all connected to astrology. And so you get into that, and then you start understanding the deeper codes of the esotericism and all that, and it's a lot. So then everything jumps off into something
Hmm.
else, and then so we got pretty deep into this, and there was a time when 2.5 years ago, so this was about 6 months into this journey after the depression state had bounced.
Hmm.
So we were back into like moving and grooving, questioning, really trying to grind. And this was roughly 2.5 years ago. Um, and I was like, okay, we can connect to ETs with the mind. What else can the mind do? And I had heard about energy healing, which is how,
Yep.
Yeshua healed, not through anything else, but through energy healing. Um, but so then I had heard about that. So I said, okay, let me try that. And so I have had from when I was 12 years old, I've had chronic pain, daily pain in my shoulder from an injury, right? And so my focus that day was to use my mind, my energy healing
Hmm.
on my shoulder. So I got into a meditation, deep meditation, and I took everything I had around me, in me, focused every single bit of energy I could muster into my right shoulder. And for like 30 minutes, 45, I don't know, when you're in deep meditation, you really don't know the time. It could have been 10 minutes, it could have been an hour, 50.
Hmm.
I have no clue. But anyway, but for whatever time it was, focused everything in there to the point where I couldn't sit up anymore. I had to lay down. I couldn't move my arms and legs. I had no energy to move anything because everything was in my shoulder. Um, and so for the next 30 or so minutes, once again, at that moment, you can't really tell, but I was just laying down looking up at the sky. I just couldn't move. Um, and when I finally could, you know, it didn't really feel it that day, but from the next day on till now, I've had no daily pain whatsoever after 17 years. So I knew from that moment I could physically heal myself or at least take pain away. The injury is still there. The lack of motion is still, range of motion is still, not there, but the pain is also not there. And I can't express to you how inconveniencing 17 years of daily pain is in a shoulder. It
Yeah.
just, and so to not have it for the past 2.5 has been absolutely amazing. And to
Hmm.
know that I can do that to myself, that we can do that to ourselves is absolutely, because then it just opens you up to know like there's so much more we can do. And I mean, I'm a healer. Like that's who I am. That's what I am. Whether it's grid or human or soul or whatever, like I'm a healer, but there's seers, there's channelers, there's all these other things that people can do, and we can all do bits and pieces of them, but obviously we have our main attribute that we are best at, and so that's kind of because I started diving into that like after I was found this out. So it's all just snow. Every time something happens, it opens up a whole new door, which is also why this entire process is almost impossible to explain to someone who doesn't understand it, because every time you explain it, it sounds completely different, because every time you understand something, it opens up a door to something
Hmm.
completely new that adds another layer to everything. And so to us, it makes sense. Like it makes sense immediately. I mean, there's been plenty of times when, and sorry if I'm speaking fast and rambling, I love this stuff.
Hmm.
There have been plenty of times where I've had a download in my head, and it's been like, oh, okay, of course that's the case. And so I talked to my friend Nick about it, and he's like, yeah, that makes so much sense. But we had never heard it before, we'd never seen it before,
Yeah.
whatever. And then, a month later or something, we'll see like Billy Carson say something about it, and we're like, oh my God, it connects exactly to what this guy who's, got all these, you know, um, credits to his name and that, or it'll be something someone along those lines says who has much more, mainstream credibility than
Yeah.
us. But it's like, how would we have ever known something like that unless it's coming in true from either, our higher selves or another being out there?
Mm.
So,
I'm so glad that you have Nick. Did I say the name right? Not your other. Okay. Yeah. It's Nick, right? Yeah.
well,
I'm
that's
so.
that's actually been the biggest blessing for both of us.
Oh,
Well, you know, is having someone because honestly, this
yeah.
journey going at it alone would be demoralizing
Yeah.
because if you can't talk to which is honestly why I'm thankful for the loom because it adds a whole nother group of people that I can speak to about this because like
Okay.
for the
So
longest time
to
it's
add in
just
that,
him.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Chase has just joined the sacred economy that I'm in, just to put a little hint out to it. But yeah, to have more people, more like minds to talk to. Okay.
And that's that. I mean, honestly, that's the biggest benefit. I don't suggest anybody going on this journey
Yeah.
alone. It will destroy you
It's hard.
because there's so much negativity, not in the journey itself, but that you uncover about
Mm,
what you're told. And it's
the world.
about that alone. I mean, that 3 month depression period, we went
Yeah.
through it at the same time. If you're going through that alone, that's harder to come out of.
Yep. I had my mentor along the way. I don't know. It's the same thing. I don't know what I would have done without her because there are periods of time when you see things and you learn things about the world that are shocking and depressing and unbelievable. And even like finding more people, like that's one the reason that I do the show too, is to link more people so we are not alone, and knowing that within that more and more people are gaining knowledge with this, which is so wonderful. I want to watch the time a little bit. I do want to talk for a second about your dad and football. Do you mind switching to that for just a second, because I feel that's important.
We could switch to anything, anytime. I'm a rambler, okay? I can talk and talk and talk. So,
This hasn't been a ramble from my perception at all. So tell me about your dad and professional football, and yeah, what happened with that, and you being in football as well.
I mean, I just grew up with a life inside football. When I was born, my dad was playing pro football. He was a punter. He won a Super Bowl, made the Pro Bowl,
Mm,
won a national championship in college, was pound for pound the strongest man in the NFL, which he might be the only person in the history of football to have a national championship, a Super Bowl, a Pro Bowl, and be strongest man in the NFL. I'd
jeez.
be hard to, I mean, if not, it's a very small list, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, so that's interesting in itself. But I mean, I grew up traveling like 6 months in one location, 6 months in Ocala for the first 6 or 7 years of my life. And um and then he got hurt and that kind of ended just because he was 38-ish at the time, 36, whatever it was, 36 at the time. And football stopped for him, and then I started playing as a youngster and then ended up playing in college. And honestly, I thought I was gonna, I was gonna try to go pro. Of course, that's every kid's dream if they're when they're playing. And I had seen it
And you'd seen
firsthand
it,
that it
right?
can happen. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. But it wasn't in the cards for me. I ended up getting I was already had that injury, and then I got hurt again my senior year in high school, and then ended up playing in college, and things just never lined up properly. But I know now that that injury, that was not my path. I would never be here right now on
Yeah.
this journey if I had made it to that point, because I wouldn't have had any reason to. Nothing would have, sparked um my path. Nothing would have sparked my intrigue in any of it because I'd been like, oh man, I'm making all this money with this easy life. There's no
Right.
reason to look through for anything else other than, and not to say no one does in that position. It just, I don't think it would have presented itself in the way that it did.
Hmm. So, and we talked about before, your dad died, I think, when he was 52, around that age.
Around, yeah, around there. It would have been roughly there, 52, 51, something like that.
Okay.
Um, Widowmaker heart attack, small chance of survival. Um, and that was another one that I went into a deep depression of for a
Yeah.
while, for like a year and a half, kind of spiraled in a, I guess you could say a dark way. I mean, every spiral's dark to an extent. Um, but did that and knew at the time I didn't realize it, but I think, and many will probably disagree with me on this, I think that with the soul contract, I was put into that family and he was put into that family, and we were meant because that was the moment that I was like, all right, I'm going to start, doing what makes me happy, what I want to do. I'm not going to do these things. Like I was working an inside sales job and I hated it.
Oh my,
And
I
then
can't see
this,
you doing that at all. Was it,
no, it
what
was
kind of
brutal.
sales?
Like event sales. So I was selling like
Ugh.
tickets to corporate events. It was terrible.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah, it was
Mm-mm.
exactly. You can't see me doing it. Neither could I.
Mm-mm.
All right. It was so that this happened, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to do that. And then it just kind of, without realizing it, set me off on kind of this path, this different mindset where, I just realized money was not that big of a deal. It's not an important thing to chase. Not like I was chasing it beforehand, but it was like after that happened, I was like, it's just stupid. Like, what's the point? It doesn't matter. Like, might as well just do things that are going to make me happy because, like, the only thing that really matters are the relationships and memories we make. Other than that, it's nothing goes with us, so who cares?
Yeah.
And so it kind of transitioned from that, but. And honestly, I even up until the past few years, it like would hit me every now and again. But after reading the Bhagavad Gita, there was a line where he says we shouldn't lament the living or the dead. And so once that finally resonated, I'm able to put this event behind me because there's is a reason for everything. And I feel like it sounds crazy from a 3D perspective, but I feel like his time was meant to happen in that moment,
Hmm.
and because I did get a message from him in a dream, vivid as can be, as vivid as could ever be. And I won't go in detail with the dream, but the main part of it was I got a phone call and it said dad. So I opened it up, I answer it, and yeah, it was a flip phone. I love flip phones. I hate smartphones. And so I answer it, and he said, it's time you finally know the truth. And
What a
that was
great
when it
dream.
happened, and that's kind of when everything started to really even snowball more with information and with understanding and with everything else.
Okay. Wow. I got a message to give you when we're done from your dad. Leading into that, tell your perspective of pro football as well, going through this awakening. What is it to you now? What do you see?
Oh. Well, having grown up with football, it was basically my whole life, or
Hmm.
my entire life up until the past few years, really mostly last year and this year. Um, it was, my teams, I would hate teams, I would love teams. I was passionate if my team lost or another team won, I would, be disappointed. But then it gets to the point where you're like, it's just entertainment. It has no bearing on anything at all in our lives whatsoever, other than the players or the people directly involved in those games, because that's their livelihood. So it does affect them. And the game itself, it's a lot more than entertainment when it creates that bond, that brotherhood, that the connection that, yeah, I've never felt anywhere else other than those locker rooms, because it's a different type of bond. I mean, you're grinding with them, you're bleeding, you're sweating. It's like you're just body on body with them, and it's a brutal game, and so you just connect in that way. And there's no other brotherhood like a football locker room that I've ever experienced. And so it's just so from that perspective, I think it can truly mold people into better men, but from a grand scale, but I think that's the lower levels because the once you involve, money into it, and once you can involve Vegas, such as every sport, I don't think players are involved, and I will tell this for it. I will tell everyone this forever. I do not think any players are involved other than, here and there you might get a couple that can be bought, that'll shave points or whatever. But on a grand scale, I don't think players are involved are involved at all. I think it's owners are definitely involved. There's too much money to not be. Referees are 100% involved. They can absolutely sway games. Um, I think some coaches can be involved. I mean, how do coaches with terrible losing records continue to get jobs? It just doesn't make any sense from any type of logical perspective. But anything you can gamble on is rigged to an extent. There's no way that Vegas is going to completely leave it up to chance. There's no way that billions of dollars is going to be left to a coin flip, essentially. It's just not going to happen.
So saying that you feel most of the players are legit, but the game really isn't. Is that a good way to sum it up?
I would say so. I would say the game itself, the outcome is not always legitimate. I think the game itself is legitimate, the players are legitimate, but the outcome is not necessarily decided by the players. I mean, you have some coaches, and I don't know. I know there have been some involved over the years. Who I have no clue. How many I have no clue. I wouldn't think it's a ton. I think it's mostly at the referees. I think it's mostly, um, and I mean that's been proven in court that
Mhm.
referees have been involved. And but I think the games are legitimate. The outcomes are not always legitimate. And even, like let's say for instance, a spread is 12 points, 12 and a half points. All right. Well, the favorite could be up by 14, and then at the end, something random happens and the underdog kicks a field goal at the very end of the game. They still lose, but they lose by 11, so they cover the spread. And so it's like that, um, or coaches may call plays that they know are not going to work, so they don't gain yards, or a defense that's not going to stop an offense, so they give up a touchdown and how frequent that is, I don't know.
I
But
think it's a lot.
it's almost impossible for it to not be happening. I mean, there's just it's money talks, follow the money. It's just, but I mean that's in everything. Everything's, rigged to an extent.
So
Everything that involves tons of money is
tons of
definitely
money.
rigged.
Do you feel like college is the same as pro?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's college, I mean, there's so much betting on
So
college,
much
probably
about
more
it.
so because there's, 100 like 138 teams in high division one, something along those lines that you can bet on. So there's, almost 70 games a week.
Mm-mm. I try not to, well, not try. I don't watch too much TV yet. When I do lately, there have been so many commercials about betting. I've never seen it so much in front of your face. So, yeah, distractions, betting, drinking, smoking, all of that stuff. It is really being pushed
What's
so
funny is
much.
how in the United States it's totally different than so when I was living in Australia,
Yeah.
um, very cool place, loved it, loved the people, absolutely awesome. Um, this was in 2016, somewhere around there,
Mhm.
and at that time, gambling was basically heavily illegal in the United States, way more stringent than it is now, like way more restrictive than it is now.
Mhm.
Whereas over there, every pro sports team had a gambling site as the main sponsor on the front of their jersey. Every
Wow.
commercial you saw was for a gambling site. Every corner street had a slot casino machine, right? But, it was fine. I think the less restrictions you put on something, the less dangerous it's going to be. And I mean, that's pretty much proof. Most of the crime that comes from gambling is because it's illegal and they do it
Mhm.
under the table. Most of the crime that comes from drugs is because it's illegal and they sell it under the table. If legalize these things, take less, like, if it's not self-harm, if it's not harming others, if someone harms themselves, then that's on them, right? But if you're not harming someone else, then I don't really see the issue with it. And, maybe that's just me, maybe, but if
Yeah,
there's,
I agree with you there, yet I feel like it's also being so pushed in your face right now.
oh yeah, I mean, it's, there's too much. I mean, there's too many ads, there's
Yeah.
too much, and
Yeah.
everything's to sell a product. Everything is marketing now. Nothing is,
Yeah.
can't say nothing, but most
Most
everything
things.
is, inauthentic and all about the dollar. And it's sickening.
Yeah. Wow. I think if you're cool, this would be a great time to go into the Just Be practice. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
sure. We can
All
do
right.
that.
Let's do it.
Just be
All
practice.
right. So the just be for this week is the write, speak, uh, envision, and feel manifestation journal. So what that is, it's essentially the same thing as a 369 journal, where in the morning you write, speak, envision, feel your manifestation 3 times. Then in the afternoon, you do it 6 times. And then right before bed, when your brain waves are in that most um, attractive state, you would do it 9 times. And while you're sleeping in your REM and you're hitting those theta brain waves, that's when it's most prominent. And so,
Okay. So when you say your manifestation, something that you're dreaming about, something that you're wanting or desiring for yourself?
yes, so the manifestation can really be anything. The more specific, the better. Some people will say, for instance, I've seen a explanation say, well, I'm manifesting that I'm going to make $100,000 this year. Well, if you're not specific, then you could get injured and the settlement could be $100,000.
Yep.
So it's be more specific. Like, so my
Yes.
manifestation is that I am a full-time successful author. Because, if I were to say I'm a full-time author, then I could just be making no money and
Yes.
without a job and just just writing because that's the only thing I can do at the time. So
Yes.
full-time successful means that I am able to, write what I want, make enough money to be, comfortable financially and go from there. So that is mine. So I will start by writing it 3 times.
Okay, let me add to that too. Another example is, oh, I desire this kind of car. If you, for example, don't say, I'd like it to be working, you might get that car, but it doesn't work. So, another good
Exactly, yeah.
explanation. So, specific as possible. And then I'm going to throw this out there, Chase. I do that, but I also say, no, you haven't finished yet, for the highest good as well. So, in
Okay.
case there's something that I don't see or I'm not flexible, well, I want to be flexible with everything. Yeah, go ahead.
That and I'll say it's always an I am statement. It's never like an I want or an I wish or I
Yes.
hope because if you do that, then you're already saying I don't have this, I'm not
Mhm.
this. But if you say I am, or for me, I say I am grateful to be this, right? I am
Yes.
grateful to be a successful full-time author. And so I am grateful that I already am that. And therefore, I'm rewiring my DNA, I'm rewiring my matrix, my simulation, my video game to give me that outcome. And I always put an exclamation point at the end because why not?
It just feels good. All right, so start that again. Let's go through the process one more time.
All right, so we will start and I always date it. So today's the 22nd, right? And then we'll just do the 3 times today because at least for me, it's morning. So afternoon would be midday, and then the 9 would be right before bed. So we'll do this 3 times. Um, and whatever your manifestation is, it can be small, it can be big, but make sure it's specific enough to where you're not getting something a consequence that, you don't desire. And so we'll write this 3 times, and I'll start by saying, I am grateful to be a successful full-time author! Exclamation point. And then we write this 2 more times.
Yeah.
And
So if
for
anyone,
timing purposes, I'll skip ahead.
well, yeah, and if anyone wants to do this while we're doing it, seems like you given them appropriate time to think about things. Okay, skip ahead.
So now, that's the writing aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now the speaking aspect of it. Okay. After you write it out there, okay, so now you're putting it down. You're physically putting it out there. And now your voice, you're putting that vocal frequency out into the universe. And so you're going to say, for me, I'd say, I am grateful to be a successful full-time author. I am grateful to be a successful full-time author. I am grateful to be a successful full-time author. Right? So then you read it out 3 times, you speak it. So then, after you have written it and you've spoken it, now you will envision it. So close your eyes in a simple, not necessarily a meditation, but just really see it in your mind's eye. And however you envision that, that is up to you. For me, I'm in a lovely mountain chateau as the
Beautiful.
snow is cascading
Ah,
outside.
love that.
I got my hot coffee, my beautiful brick fireplace, and my computer's open to my latest novel.
Nice.
And then I see in the background, you know, maybe an award for a book or a plaque that says, 100,000 copies sold. So I know that it has been successful, my writing career, right? And then after you've envisioned it, however that may be, then you try to experience the emotions that you would feel while being in that moment. Right. So for me, it's joy. It's honestly it's content. It's grateful. It's loving the life that I'm able to live, the life I want to live, and just let that consume your entire body. Like right now, I'm getting chills in my legs. So you let those emotions consume your entire body, and so the manifestation, the thing that you desire. Right now, your body knows, your DNA understands what it's going to feel like for you to have that. And so then it becomes much more likely. This is obviously not a one-time thing, right? The more you do it,
Mm-hmm.
the more likely it is to happen. For instance, I'm in a relationship now. Before I was in a relationship, I had terrible luck in that category. Terrible, it was brutal. Um, And so I was doing the typical stuff. I was on all the apps, whatever. And then I got to the point where I said, all right, I'm done trying. I deleted all the apps. And the next day I met my lady. But now up into that point, it was for like a couple weeks. Um, like I went to a spiritual store and they had all these gems and I waved my hand over them. And the one that got to me was the amethyst. Well, the amethyst is about attracting love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got that. I got an amethyst bracelet. I was wearing it. And then it got to the point where I was feeling it. I had some couple encounters, but I just started saying over and over and over and over again, and doing this with the journal. I am in love with someone who loves me back equally.
Mm.
And I did this for 16 days straight. And then the next day, I walked up into um, the restaurant in downtown Troy, Alabama, and met my lovely current girlfriend.
There she was, and y'all been in a relationship for several years. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been quite some time, 2.5 years or so. And when it at a certain point when everything kind of clicked into place, when it started like feeling real, out of nowhere the bracelet broke, as if to say I don't need it anymore.
Oh my God, isn't that neat? Okay, so to clarify, these three
So it does
times.
work, is all I'm getting to.
Yes. All right. So for you, 3 times morning, 3 times midday, 3 times before bed, you write
Th
it, you
three,
speak
six,
it.
9. So 3 in the morning, 6 in the
Ah,
afternoon, and
thank you.
9 at night. And this is the essentially the same thing as Tesla. If you understand 369, you'll basically
Yep.
be able to do whatever you want. I mean, I'm terribly paraphrase, terrible paraphrase, but
That
the
is
idea is there.
awesome. So each time you write it, you speak it, you think it, you feel it. You go through
Yes,
that
ma'am.
process. Well, so fabulous. And we didn't even really get into writing, which I know that's your desire, but quickly per our discussion, we can spit it out there that the publishing industry, just like Western medicine and all these industries, is just, we talked about that it's all about pushing a certain agenda. Do you want to give me a couple sentences on that and we'll close out? I know that could be a big topic too.
Yeah. Well, books nowadays are formulaic and people write genres as opposed to writing the stories and letting the story pick its own genre. And honestly, I find that disgusting because there's no authenticity or no raw voice anymore. And so I write stream of consciousness. I don't edit. I mean, tunic, I edit grammar and things like that to make it read cleanly, but I write in first person as well. So, humans are not perfect. They're flawed. They speak incorrectly at times. They speak with their own cadence. And so I'm not going to edit out a personality to fit an agenda to, sell a book. I don't write genres. I write stories. My story, my genre is sandbox literature because the sandbox has no rules and my writing has no rules, as all literature should not. All fictional literature should, you know, the writer should be able to write what they want. And I'm trying to bring that back to how it used to be, where you can write raw and it be okay. You can write authentically and it be okay without editing out everything, you know, 20 revisions and you edit out the entire original idea just so you can sell a couple copies. Like, to me, that's just crazy.
That was a really beautiful summation. Really beautiful.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Chase, man, I get to know, because we're having this looming experience together, I will get to know Chase even more deeply, yet I so appreciate this time that we spent together doing the show, because I also get to really know more about you this way. So I highly enjoyed it today. I appreciate your perspective. The Just Be practice, I think, will be really great for people. And I would love for folks to comment, if you feel comfortable, what your I am is, what your manifestation is, what your dream is. Please share it with us, because if you write it out here, it just magnifies as well. All right, Florida. Any last words, or let's just say goodbye? How about that?
I appreciate love all y'all. We don't say appreciate because why should we appreciate, right? Appreciate love.
Love that too. All right, next week, everybody. Thank you so much, Chase. Bye, y'all. And I know you can say y'all too.
Ta-ta, kittens.
All right. Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, True Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.